Alright, so we are here at the Vergorac supercharger again with the kids in the background enjoying a well-earned ice cream in these freaking hot temperatures. We're charging up the car to 100% this time, just because we don't know whether or not we can charge again at our apartment in OMIS, which is our next destination. On the way here we stopped at KRAVICA Studenci in Bosnia, which is a very nice waterfall, but the road there was a mountain road where the locals do not give way, so they just say they own the road and they do whatever they like. But anyway, we made it. I think the Tesla was the most expensive car that ever drove there on that road, because it was a really small road and it was really narrow at some times to get two cars passing, and you have to wait for another car at the small thing outside, like in the bend you had a little bit more space, so you had to wait there for the other guy to pass by, which was interesting, especially with a 100 plus thousand euro car. That was a little bit frightening at some points, but hey, we made it without any scratches, so that's the most important one. So charging up to 100%, and then we move on to our next destination. So we are our second morning in OMIS now. Have a really nice apartment with a swimming pool, so the kids enjoyed that part just yesterday during the day. However, my wife and I were planning on doing a late evening swim, and it started getting windy really fast, really loud, hard wind. It just wasn't doable anymore. So this morning again there's a lot of wind going on. I'm also not able to charge at the apartment, so luckily we charged enough at Vergorac to make sure that we get to ZADAR as well. So yeah, so today we'll visit OMIS city. There's supposed to be a waterfall nearby, a small one, so we'll look for that. It's in the mountains, so that's just basically a nice mountain road drive, and then have some waterfall to see. It's no hiking involved there. But after that we move on to ZADAR, and once we're there, then that's our last stop. So in ZADAR I know that I'll have a 22 kilowatt charger available at the Nikola Tesla school, so that should be fine. It's really close by where we're staying. So yeah, last day here, and tomorrow we move on to ZADAR. Alright, we are here in ZADAR, arrived at our destination, and there used to be a charging spot that we could use for free at the school. It's a parking place. But first of all, I found this this Mercedes parked here, which is an electric car, but it's parked here, it's not charging. Secondly, when I want to charge my car, I just wanted to plug it in, then all of a sudden I'm seeing that there is no way to activate it with an RFID, and apparently you have to pay up front or something to a bank account. I have no idea how to do this, so now actually now we have a problem. So I need to see if I can charge at the apartment that we're staying, which I don't think I can. Otherwise I have to figure out how this one works, because I was really counting on this one. I have about 100 kilometers left. Tomorrow we have a lot of driving to do to either KRKA waterfalls, or we're going to Paklenica National Park to do some hiking there, depending on the temperature. But yeah, that's a problem now, so let's see how we can solve this. Got some good news about Autopilot. I'm currently on version 17.26.76 as of our stay in Dubrovnik. We are now in ZADAR, so that means that we drove quite a few 100 kilometers to get here. And with the latest update, I have to say that the car is much better at keeping the center line in the turns. It used to go to the outside and then back, and that had to correct itself. Right now it's keeping dead center most of the time. What it does do is still be a little bit jerky when it comes to auto lane changes, so that can be improved, that it's more fluid instead of just one jerky movement after some hesitation. The other thing that is annoying at the moment is because in Croatia you have these different zones of speed limits. So you got 50, you got 40, sometimes you get 60, you have 70, and you have 90, and they switch quite a bit. So it's a 40 section, and then as soon as it comes to an intersection, again it's a 60 section, or maybe it's a 50 section, and then it goes on, and then between villages you have a 90 section. So the car accelerates until 90 again automatically if you started at 90 before on autopilot, and then it automatically goes up to 90, but 200 meters ahead is the next village, and then it has to be 50 again. So it slows down to 50, it does really hard, so it accelerates to 90, slows back to 50, goes up to 60, goes down to 40, then it goes back to 90, where it shouldn't do it, because sometimes when you just cross an intersection, it thinks that you're past the zone, and then it automatically goes back to 90, where you're technically only allowed to drive like 50 or 60 maybe, or even 40 sometimes. So that's something that Tesla needs to work on. I think it's partly due to the fact that right now the speed limit recognition is only based on the GPS position. It does do it remarkably well, but not all GPS data is correct. I see. Maybe it changed over time since they took the data. Maybe the data is just wrong. I don't know. but it's quite annoying that it's always speeding up, slowing down, and not so much that it is speeding up and slowing down, but it's really jerky. So you're driving 90 and then you pass a sign that says, well, you can go 50 here. It goes hard on the brakes once you pass that sign to go down to that 50. So I think I am annoying some of the drivers behind me by just actually sticking to the speed limits on one hand, but on the other hand by doing it so abruptly. So it would be better, since Tesla uses the GPS. They know that in 200 meters there's a 50 zone and you're driving 90. It can really gradually go down to 50 to go to that speed sign, and from that point on be on 50. So that is some improvement that can be done, but all in all, with the latest version I do see some more smoothness in taking turns, which is a good thing. The speeds, that's not so good, but yeah, we all know Tesla, and I'm sure it will be alright in the end, and hopefully they will fix that with one of the next updates. So we are here at the supercharger in Seng, which is one of the most beautiful superchargers that I've visited so far, and I've done quite a few already. We came down the coastal highway from ZADAR to Seng, and that was a very nice trip. It's a very winding road. It's very tiresome if you drive it a long time, but yeah, I think it's really worth it. You get very beautiful views, as you do here at the supercharger, because this is really a nice location. You got the lighthouse back there. There's a cruise ship behind me as well, and coming down the mountains we actually got a consumption of -86, which means that we drove for 5 kilometers, and we actually gained like 7 kilometers in range, which calculates up to 12 kilometers of regen that we did. I have to move now because there's a car coming, and so right now we charged up to 100% because we're going to Slovenia in dark territory during using the back roads, and tomorrow we visit the caves in POSTOJNA, and after that we head home via Linz, where there's a nice rodelbaan that we visited last year as well, so we do that this year again, and then charge up in Kitzbühel, take another stop in Munich to spend the night to make it a little bit easier on the kids, and then we head home. Yeah, so now POSTOJNA, nice apartment. Have to see if I can charge here. I don't think so, but I still have 320 kilometers left right now, which is enough to get me to Italy the day after tomorrow. So there we'll charge probably to 90%, and then it's a 4-hour drive through the mountains, through Austria to Kitzbühel, and on our way we'll stop at Linz at the Rodelbahn, which I mentioned earlier, which is always great for the kids and actually for me and my wife as well. We love those things. So right now I need to find a parking spot, and then we relax a little bit. Tomorrow we visit the caves, and then we're heading home after that. Okay, so we are already at the Palmanova supercharger in Italy, where you hear some background noise all the time. You get commercials through the speakers. But what we found out is that today, or actually yesterday, they opened a brand new playground over there for the kids to be entertained. So it's a cool thing. They really like it. And now the car is waiting on us instead of us waiting on the car to get moving. So the next stop is Linz, Austria, where we go visit the Rodelbahn, and then we move on to the Kitzbühel supercharger, which is our last supercharging stop for the day. So only 2 stops, and then we spend the night in Munich to break it up for the kids. So it's not a 1 day very long drive, but we do it in 2 days to get home again. Are at the Irschenberg supercharger. I was just collecting the car, and I noticed that a woman drove up and parked on the supercharger with an ice car. I confronted her, and well, confronted was like a big question. I just told the lady in a nice way, like, okay, you know, this is a charging place, and if you block somebody, that they cannot move on and they have to wait. And she actually didn't know, she didn't realize this, and I think that's a common problem with the placement of the supercharger in the back of the car. But there's also a parking sign that says that anyone can park here for like 30 minutes. Now if everybody does that, that could take you 30 minutes before you can start charging, right? So that's not really a good thing in my opinion. But anyway, she said she was just going to use the bathroom and then come back and drive off, and there's another spot available, and I'm driving out of here in 2 minutes. So Yeah, I think a problem avoided this time, but people are just not realizing that they are blocking Teslas by parking on these supercharger spots on the one hand, but on the other hand, the people putting the signs in place, they actually allow cars to park here, and this time it's for the full supercharger array that the parking time is actually for. So now we go on to our hotel in Munich, and then tomorrow it's our last night, or our last day that we drive home. So let's go. First supercharger stop of the day, Leonberg, Germany. We drove 216 kilometers in 1 hour and 40 minutes with an average consumption of 293 watt hour per kilometer. Did a section of half an hour with an average of 190-200 kilometers per hour. Didn't even get a restriction because of the battery heat or anything, so that was cool. And it also proves that you can actually use the German Autobahn as it is intended to be used, to drive really fast over long distances. Didn't have a lot of traffic, so there was no risk involved in this time. My wife was a little bit more comfortable now, but still she doesn't really like me going that fast. Next stop probably Mogendorf again, and that might be our last one, or we stop at Urmond one last time to charge up a little bit more, depending on how fast we go in that final section. All in all, P100D, excellent car. Besides the flat tire, didn't have one single problem with the car itself on this trip. And we're right now at 4,100 kilometers in the trip, so we'll end up around 4,005, 4,006 maybe. A little bit less than what I expected, but that is mainly due because of the fact that we were located more around the area where we were doing things, and we didn't have to drive as many days as we did last year, because then we were in more remote locations. Now we had to drive to Split, we had to drive to ZADAR. Now we were located in ZADAR, we were located in Dubrovnik, we were located at the Plitvice lakes. So yeah, that's a little less driving for the car. But yeah, all in all, 4,500, 4,600 kilometers drive on this road trip. Not bad. Okay, so we arrived home. Our trip this year to Croatia was 4,697 kilometers with an average of 214 watt hours per kilometer. This means that the P100D, even though we enjoyed the German Autobahn, and we did some hills as well as we did last year, is about 4 to 5 watt hours per kilometer more efficient. In my opinion, this is due to the facelift, which has a lower drag coefficient of 0.21 versus the old pre-facelift car I had, which had a drag coefficient of 0.24. Especially on the highway sections, that does matter. And also we noticed that the cooling system seems to be better on the P100D during high-speed driving, because I did a section quite long on the Autobahn, as I mentioned before, up at speeds up to 200 kilometers an hour. No limit in power whatsoever there, so that's a good thing. On the other hand, I did mention before also the cooling while charging on AC at 16.5 kilowatts. It was huge. It was like supercharging at maximum speed, that the fan noise was going as well. Might have something to do with the temperatures being around 30 degrees, that it couldn't quite dissipate the heat. Anyway, but there was another Tesla charging as well, and it didn't make that noise, so that is something that I'm going to investigate why that happens. I hope there's nothing wrong with the cooling of the pack for AC charging. Might have something to do with being a single charger versus a dual charger, which I had before as well. But also during mountain driving, the cooling was really loud and we could hear it, especially when you had to stop at the toll booths or at the border. Then it was really like all the time, and it was really weird. It's supposed to be a quiet car, but at that point, definitely not a quiet car. And right now, it's time to start looking through the pictures, start editing my video, and maybe start thinking about our next trip for next year.